Our next stop is in Lincoln, Nebraska, where we caught up with renowned paranormal investigator Brian Kent. Mr. Kent offered to shed some light on the subject of the supernatural.
My name is Brian Kent, and I'm the founder of Paranormal Investigations. I'm also the advisor for the team, and I am also an author of 3 books currently. I teach at Dome College on paranormal investigation, and I also conduct classes for the team and on paranormal investigation for those who are interested in becoming paranormal investigators. My family mistakenly moved into a home when I was a small child that had quite a bit of suspected activity in it. We lived in that house for 9 years. Ever since, I've been very interested in what had happened, trying to figure things out. And once paranormal investigation became a little more accepted with society, I decided I wanted to try it, and the more that I did it, the more involved I got in. One case I would like to bring up was a case in, can I say a town?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Utan, Nebraska, where a young man supposedly had committed suicide in the house. And what had happened was he was continually running through the home trying to get someone's attention. He was lost. He was trying to get help from the living, and the family was terrified, to the point where one of their small children, a 2-year-old, was screaming that a young man was in their house. This is when the team was called in, and we went in and we did an investigation and found considerable signs of paranormal activity in the home. We went back the following weekend and we brought in a priest to do a house blessing and to see if we could get this young man to either leave or cross over. During the proceedings of the house blessing, and basically what the priest was doing was a funeral service for this young man, I had an emotional outbreak. I didn't know where it came from. I had uncontrollable crying. I was feeling pain in my head, and I didn't know where all of this was stemming from. The team suggested that I was possibly being taken over by this young man to let the rest of them know the pain and the depression he was feeling. The feeling only lasted for about 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden it was gone. I don't know how to explain this, but it was the most breathtaking investigation I've ever been on. We did one down in Marysville, Kansas, the Pony Express station, and we captured the museum curator was there in the museum quite often all alone, and she was getting a lot of activity that she couldn't explain. Lights going on and off, footsteps in the empty museum where you could hear every little pin drop in there. And she allowed us to come in. When we were all talking, we were talking about the past museum curators who had passed away, who this woman had taken over for. And as she was discussing these people, a man came forward and said, "Who is Mr. Luck?" I was floored. None of us said it. I don't know where the voice came from, but to date it's probably the best EVP evidence we've ever captured. Another case that was rather revealing. A woman here in Lincoln was going through severe depression and severe grief over her father's death. This was going on for about 5 to 6 years, and she still lived in her parents' home. And her mourning was so intense that she refused to move any of her family's furniture, her parents' furniture, from any of its original position. Everything was exactly the way it was when her father died. We were asked not to touch the furniture, not to touch anything on the shelves. If we needed to plug something in, she was going to do it. We suggested that the woman do what we call a one-on-one EVP session, which is what we do. Is we put her on a camera similar to what I am right now. We turn on a voice recorder, and we allow her to do all the questions, and we leave the building. We left her for about 45 minutes. We came back and we checked reviewed the audio recording. And during the recording, the daughter was referring to how stubborn the father was, and she even called him a butthead. And she said, "Why do you have to be such a butt?" And immediately after that, a male came forward and said, "I'm sorry." Human nature plays a major part of this. Understanding human nature is a major part of paranormal investigation. When you're trying to communicate with somebody that's being an asshole, bad intentions, this is all part of understanding human nature. Sometimes these entities are being misunderstood or misinterpreted. There's many times that we'll go into a home and someone will say that, well, this is being moved, so somebody moved this, or they're trying to wake me while I'm asleep. This can be taken two ways. It can either mean that somebody's trying to get your attention, or they're trying to literally mess up your sleep. It also can mean that when things get moved, that maybe someone is trying to draw your attention to that item as opposed to just trying to scare you. So this is a really important part of paranormal investigation, to try and take in everything that's going on, because we believe that the way to take care of the problem is to try and get an understanding for what's actually being intended.
The one kind of candid question I did want to ask you is, does any of this scare you?
No, absolutely not.
Does it give you a sense of peace, having a better understanding of the afterlife? And
actually, Dustin, when we go into investigation, my mind is trained on the client and what's going on in the house, trying to debunk it, and then if there is something in there, then trying to get to the bottom of the intentions, why it's there, why it's what it wants. And then from there, usually I have to come home and I've got since I'm not a trained psychologist, I've got quite a few of them on my Facebook that are very good with helping me give me some ideas on how to resolve the situation. It's a process. First and foremost, you got to figure out if their house is haunted or not. I mean, there's many times when I've walked into a house and figured out exactly what was going on within a half hour to an hour. You know, we had one house here in Lincoln. The lady refused to go down to her basement and found out that 8 months prior, her husband had hired a buddy of his to help him rewire the house. It was a fairly old house. Rewire the house. And when she got down there, she was creeped out. Well, we walked down there, and man, the hair on the back of my neck was up and everything. We started taking readings and found out that this kid had rewired their home and used unshielded wiring. It was like a freaking massive fear cage, and it was it ran the whole the whole width of the house. And we got down to their breaker box. Right, their breaker box was sitting right above their washer and dryer, and this thing was pumping out like 135 milligauss. And I could just imagine. I was getting the hair on the back of my neck and arms up. And I told the guy, I go, dude, who did you get to rewire this? And he mentioned it was a friend. And so I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, you just wired up a massive fear cage downstairs. I can't, you're going to have to redo this whole thing, and you're going to have to get a licensed electrician to do it. And so apparently they did. I didn't ever hear back from them, but apparently the issue was resolved. They had somebody come in and fix the problem. My main goal is to find the truth. I am a paranormal investigator second. I'm an investigator first. When we do this, you know about my family, what happened when I was a little boy. There was no such thing as paranormal investigators back then. There was nobody to go, hey, there's some weird stuff in my house going on. This is what's happening, because back then you were or looked down upon. You were a freak. Today, it's an entirely different ballgame. There's lots of paranormal investigators, some reputable, some not so reputable. Some are absolute jokes out there. And I'm not going to name names. I'm just saying there's a lot of them out there that are doing it to become movie stars or TV stars. They're trying to falsify stuff so they can have a whole bunch of stuff on their website. And to me, satisfaction is helping the family, the children, whatever, get to the bottom line. If something's haunted, then it's time to remedy the situation, not exploit it.
So you authored 3 books?
Book 1 is called The House on Lincoln Street. Obviously inspired by my childhood home. I decided that I needed to get everything about the entire experience all under one cover. And so what I did is I waited till we actually investigated my childhood home as a teen before I decided to write the book. Basically, I wanted to investigate the house to make sure that my family and I were actually experiencing paranormal activity. So in a sense, I was even agnostic about my own experiences as a child. So the book contains primarily every possible experience we had in the house. My brother, myself, my father, and my mother. Then from there, the book jumps to the investigation and how the night went and what kind of evidence we captured, which was a significant amount. Surprisingly, I was rather shocked with what we captured in the house. It also includes roughly a 44-year paranormal history of the house from other people that lived in the home. So the book is pretty detailed on everything paranormal that happened in the house. Book 2 is called Exploring Conscious Energy, a Logical Approach to Paranormal Investigation. And the book, I wrote this book for people that want to be serious about paranormal investigation and for people that want to be thorough and want to be truthful with their clients. This is not for thrill seekers or ghost hunters. This is for teams and paranormal investigators who are actually going into somebody's house, people that are actually concerned about their living quarters and want answers, as opposed to somebody going in and making a mockery of what I call a mockery of the paranormal investigative field. It covers everything. It also includes the theory of conscious energy It covers everything from equipment to techniques, ways to address an EVP session, how to protect yourself, some of the main theories that are out there. It's for serious-minded paranormal investigators. There was a call for a book to come out about what the team had done over the last 7 years. So I decided to write a book called The Paracon Investigations, and this is in no way trying to exploit the clients that we had. What it is, I've been told I'm a very matter-of-fact writer, and so that's the way it is, and I've excluded all of their names, where they're at. There's a couple locations where people know where we're at, but they are public places, and they're already publicly known paranormal, haunted locations. Other than that, anything that had to do with a client has been totally under wraps. All the identities have been kept back, but the purpose of the book was for people who may have something going on in their home. Maybe they can relate to something that's in this book. There's 32 chapters. Each chapter is a separate case, so there's 32 cases in this book. I'm working possibly on a book 4 here. I've kind of taken a little hiatus from writing for a while, but I am looking next to writing a book on the psychology behind paranormal investigation, to go a little more in depth on how to address this issue from the living standpoint. So.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time, Brian.
You're welcome.
You provided us with a lot of valuable insight.
Thank you.